Hot or not, Snapdragon Sonic. What is that crazy CMO at Qualcomm, Don, doing? What is he doing?
What is he doing? So Snapdragon now has its own sound. Um, and
Oh, this is basically the jingle.
the jingle, yeah.
My goodness, that's right. I
Let me
read
see.
that post.
Let me see if I can play it. Let's see if we can hear it. We should have practiced this before.
We're live, folks. You never know.
Let's see. It's gonna go. Maybe not. Okay.
Maybe next time.
Okay, we'll try it. But I'll just explain it. So the Sonic it's a little jingle. It's only a sound, but it's really the sound that it's the sound that you will hear. I have to stop this because I don't want it to now all of a sudden interrupt us when it was kind of giving me the circle of death. That you will connect the brand to an experience. So if you're using a product that has, or anytime, any touch point with Snapdragon, it will connect, kind of connect your brain to that Snapdragon experience. And it's just kind of another step in. I think it's part of like, let's look at, Qualcomm as it's a very B2B, very, corporate. Most people, if you're not in the industry, wouldn't really be aware of what Qualcomm is or does. Then there's Snapdragon, which has very much, it's still a B2B brand, but they market it to consumers and they have this consumer following, even though consumers can't actually go buy a Snapdragon chip. They can buy a product that has a Snapdragon chip in it, right? So there's really this pull through that has to happen that for them to, and they have this, Don is their CMO, calls it B2P, business to person. So it's not B2B or B2C, it's B2P, which I think, really makes a lot of sense because it's the business to people. When you have to connect on a human level, no matter what it is that you're selling. And there are a lot of B2B brands that I think do a good job of this. At the end of the day, everybody, even, whoever's making IT purchases, we're all people that want to have some connection to a brand. And 95% of what is it, like the 95-5 rule, like you're marketing to 100% of the people, 5% of those people are ready to buy, 95% of them are not. So that 95% are still going to remember your brand or remember that messaging down the road. They're not necessarily in that period, right? So, and I think people take these brand experiences and these feelings with them to different companies too. I look at, like, let's give the Cisco and Splunk example. I think Splunk does a great job with their marketing. From a B2B perspective, it's a smart, fun brand. I don't think Cisco is a smart, fun brand. It's a serious brand. They want to stand for security. They want, I get it for all those purposes. But Splunk has a way of getting around that. And clearly they're taken very seriously as well. But they just do a really good job at telling their story and not making it super bland. So I think B2B marketing is changing a little bit. And I think Snapdragon is a good example of how you can reach a consumer, have that pull through on product. Like they actually have a place on their site where you can go and browse through what products have Snapdragon chips. So if you're like, I really love Snapdragon, I want a camera, which cameras have Snapdragon chips? So they're creating this, fan base of Snapdragon enthusiasts. And that's good for their customers too, because they're showing like, look, these people prefer Snapdragon. Now it has this little sound that they associate with it that it's kind of going back to like the Intel Inside.
Yeah, it is interesting as Intel backs off, Qualcomm steps in. I think that it makes an even bigger difference outside of the U.S., where Snapdragon has some incredible affinity with Chinese consumers. Its awareness levels are high, its familiarity levels are high, and most of the data that I've seen talks about it in a very positive way. I think it'll be a tough road to hoe in the United States. Um, I think that China and actually Germany and South Korea are very utilitarian. They're surgical shoppers, and typically the brands sometimes end up being less impressive than the ingredients of the brands. Like Gore-Tex, things like that. I've done more ingredient research than I even want to admit, and I'm glad I don't do it anymore. But it is interesting. I was an ingredient brand for over 10 years, and I was also for over 10 years. I had to use ingredient brands in some of my marketing.
Yeah.
I love the MDF dollars, that's for sure.